It all started like a typical summer outing. For friends Ira, Maxim, Dasha, and Anton decided to have a picnic in the wilderness, in the forest, far from people. The city had become tiresome with its noise and bustle, and here silence, the scent of pine needles, the singing of birds. They approached a small clearing where someone had once set up a spear. The sun was setting, and it seemed as if a quiet evening of barbecues and conversations by the fire awaited them. But the darker it got, the more they began to feel a strange tension all around them. It was as if the forest was listening. The silence was too thick. No grasshoppers, no owls, not the crackling of distant branches, just them and the flickering fire. Maybe we should camp closer to the road, Dasha suggested, looking around. Oh, come on, Anton chuckled. There's no one here. It looks so romantic. They tried to ignore the oppressive feeling, but at some point Ira noticed a silhouette flicker across the clearing between the tree trunks. Tall, unnaturally elongated, as if woven from shadows. Did you see that? She whispered. The others exchanged glances. Maxim stood up and aimed the flashlight there, but the beam caught only trees. No one. They thought they were imagining it, but half an hour later, Anton felt a tug at his jacket, as if someone had yanked it sharply from behind. He jumped up with a cry and turned around. Nothing. Branches couldn't have done that. The fire crackled, but it didn't warm. You understand? The cold had penetrated right under the jacket. Then there was a sound, quiet, drawn-out breathing, as if someone was standing behind them. They froze, but when they turned around abruptly, there was only forest. I don't like this, Ira said. We have to leave. They began hastily packing, but noticed the fire itself was burning hotter. The flames rose higher than a man's head, and within them, the outlines of people began to form, empty, distorted, eyeless. Dasha screamed, and everyone rushed into the forest. They ran wherever their eyes led, a little further from the fields. But the forest didn't let them go. The road they'd come on had disappeared. Every turn led to the same mistake. Another clearing, another blazing fire, and next to it, not for backpacks, but 5. We only have 4. Maxim gasped. The 5th backpack was old, moldy, having lain there for 10 years. A piece of the tag with faded letters was still visible on it. Ira looked closer. Her name was written there. They didn't open it, but as soon as they realized the forest was playing with them, things got worse. The shadows began to move. Not as usual. From the fire they slid across the grass, along the tree trunks, and seemed to be approaching them. And in the shadows, something whispered, rolled, as if many voices were simultaneously pronouncing these names. Dasha, Ira, Maxim, Anton. The friends, maddened with terror, tried to break this cycle. They ran until they dropped from exhaustion, but each time they returned to the same clearing. The flames died down and flared up again, and each time, a new fire appeared. By morning, there were 8 of them in the clearing, and no one saw these guys again, neither in the city nor in the forest. Only the closest hunters sometimes say that if you wander too deep and sit down to rest by the fire, you can hear quiet footsteps behind you, and a whisper in which your name sounds. Several years passed. The forest became even more overgrown, and the road to the clearing had almost disappeared. People avoided it. They said the place was cursed, that a fire there never went out. But one day, a young man named Oleg, an amateur photographer, decided to explore these strange places for his blog. He didn't believe in legends, considering them a convenient tourist trap. He grabbed a camera and a flashlight and headed there one evening to shoot a night video. To his surprise, he quickly found the clearing. It was as if the forest had led him there. There were indeed smoldering embers in the center, though no traces of people were visible. Oleg took out his camera, began filming, and joked on tape, "Well, look, a fire that never goes out. Nothing mystical about it, most likely hunters here." He fell silent, noticing several old backpacks next to the fire. They were embedded in the ground, covered in moss, but their shape was still recognizable. "Okay, this is weird," he muttered, trying to keep his composure. He crouched down next to one of the backpacks and turned on the flashlight. The tag, faded and barely legible, read Oleg. The photographer froze. The camera fell from his hands and landed in the grass, still shooting with a shaky lens. At that moment, the forest came alive. The shadows around him stirred, stretched out from behind the trees, and someone whispered his name in his ear, not one voice, but dozens at once. "Oleg." The fire rose higher. Faces appeared in the flames, for young men. They were looking straight at him, their mouths open in silent screams. Oleg dashed toward the trail. He ran until he fell, scraping his knees on the roots. But when he looked up, the clearing was before him again. And now, next to the backpacks, stood the camera. She wasn't filming anymore. A week later, local mushroom pickers found an expensive camera in the forest. The last recording showed a shimmering clearing, flames, distorted faces in the fire, and seemingly stretching shadows. Oleg himself was nowhere to be found. Since then, people say there's always an extra backpack lying by the fire in that clearing. It appears when someone wanders too deep into the forest, and the name of the person who came is always written on it.